And we are live. I am JL, also known as ProfessorTieDye, co-host of Dangerous Rhetoric, and joining me today we have Based Faith TV. He's a mutual of mine from Twitter, formerly Twitter, currently X. Came across each other when one of the worst people on the internet came gunning at both of us, and kind of been mutuals and bantered back and forth. And he's got some good accolades for some infamy that I knew of him before I got to know him, mostly for the "It's Okay to Be White" posters. And I'll hand it off to you to introduce yourself, let the audience get to know more about you, and what some of the activity online is.
For sure. Well, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Good to finally meet face to face. I know we were just discussing we've only ever talked over text, so good to put a face in a. Well, I guess I've seen your face in your profile picture, but a voice, like a moving human being.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah, it gives you a little context. But I'm Base Faith TV. As he mentioned, I have kind of a little bit of infamy that precedes me, I suppose. I am the guy, you've probably seen the headline going around once or twice over the past number of years. It always seems to explode with engagement whenever somebody posts it, and then trying to get somebody to give me the credit that I earned with it never goes quite as well. But I'm the guy that was expelled from law school and interrogated by the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force for posting "It's Okay to Be White" flyers on campus. And my life has been kind of a wacky roller coaster since then, but a lot of blessings. I've come out the other side of it, and I'm trying to be the best Catholic that I can, the best Christian that I can. Although that it's very difficult on social media, so that's kind of where my brand comes in. Base Faith TV is just trying to be a good Catholic and rise above the black pills, rise above the despair, the constant temptations to wrath and anger. And I fail at that a lot, but
I'm there with you. Sometimes there's a certain "see you next Tuesday" word that I at least I've resorted to responding with memes.
Yeah, that definitely helps. And it's been ever since election year, or election season in 2024, it was things just started getting more tense, and it was harder and harder to just be oh, you know what? Well, God bless you. I'll pray for you. And it's starting to get I'm going to come after you. But of course, now we have to be very careful about that because of the tragedy that happened last week. But before getting into that, I was never really a turning point kind of guy. I was kind of like an extremist, I guess you would say, a radical before Charlie Kirk came around. I'm about a decade older than him, I think.
Okay.
So I had been conservative for a long time. I was a Tea Party guy. I was my college, and I was as far right at the time as I guess you could be. And then moving into 2014, 2015, I started getting into the Obersturmbannführer Hans and Ride the Neon Tiger and all those kinds of memes. And then Trump sort of brought it full circle, and National Socialism started kicking up. And I don't call myself a Nazi. Obviously, I think that's a little bit cringe. We're not in the 1930s, 40s Germany, but I'll admit they did have some drip. And Uncle Adolf may or may not have had at least a couple of good ideas that we can maybe run forward with. But I'm just kind of a far right kind of guy. But I'm also a family man. I'm a husband and a father, and I'm trying to balance all of that. So I'm I guess in my bio it says I'm a Groiper dad, and I didn't choose that. I didn't make that for myself. I've been a fan of Nick's since 2017 or 2018.
Okay.
And I always considered myself too old to be a Groiper, but then I found myself in a circle with a bunch of Groipers, and they're always like, "Oh no, dude, you're not too old. We've got 50-year-old Groipers, whatever. You can totally be a Groiper. You're Groiper dad, you're unk." I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm a Groiper dad.
That works. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the same thing too. I mean, that's one thing we have in common is, family man, wife, kids. I had a I was always conservative myself. Again, I kind of saw the deep rooted conservatism, though. I joke because my family was Pentecostal growing up, and so I was forced to go to a Pentecostal Bible college, and so I wasn't really liberal, but I was a vegan straight edge Bible college student because I don't know if I was actually vegan and straight edge or if I was just doing it to piss people off. so, so, you know, I've always been very conservative, but I've also had that kind of like rabble rousing, like pushing the envelope to be like, no, we can do a little bit more here. You know, so it's, you know, I wasn't expelled from Bible college or seminary, but I did get in Bible college a few talking to where the dean of men called me. It's like, JL, you need to come in and we need to talk about what you said.
Oh, no. I
Yeah.
can imagine how severe that must have been.
Well, I mean, it wasn't too bad. I mean, they're not very prompt to expel people, but I mean, I pissed somebody off because like I mean, I kind of, I'm not Catholic, but I did gravitate towards Catholicism more, and I attended Catholic church for a long time. But like, I was defending Catholicism in a theology class,
Uh-oh.
and I kind of made a point that, you know, the Pentecostal 1040 window, it's like the 1040 like longitude latitude of like focusing on missionary work, and I'm like, this includes a lot of Catholic countries. What's the point of that? I go, and I'm like, aren't a lot of, like, by our standards, aren't a lot of Catholics saved more so than average American Christians? And like, I like was like called in because I was like attacked on Pentecostal doctrine, and I'm like, what is wrong with what I said? I said Christians are saved, and
Yeah, right.
so you know, I know a lot of, like, you know, I'm not Catholic, but I did study a few semesters at St. John Vienna Seminary in St.
Hmm.
Paul, so like I kind of have a broad breadth of study there. So I always like, so one thing I do appreciate about the Groypers is that you have a lot of very sincerely Catholic people, and it
Hmm.
really shows in their kind of like passion that really comes through. And that's that like how I said, like how I'm outside the Groypers, but also there's like area that I overlap in. I just sometimes you just see the very devout Catholicism with a lot of them, especially like when we had the nutso go crazy on us, like just an ardent defense of, you know, of life, of, like, you know,
Hmm.
anti-surrogacy, you know, pro-life stances. And like, to me, that's a very admirable thing that I always see. It's just like, nope, this is our line, we're holding our line. And yeah, that's, and just seeing some people like, no, that's not okay. But um so I was going to follow up with so you got involved with America First. Have you done any of like the in life meetups or just online involvement?
I have not.
Okay.
I would love to go to like AFPAC or something like that, but I don't know. I'm like a 4chan guy, not so much in the past few years, just because I mean after Trump's first election, it started to go downhill, and then it just got rapidly very, very much worse. But I've
Yeah.
always been the kind of like going to like an in real life meeting is just, it seems dangerous for me. But at
Yeah.
this point in my life, like I see that the Groypers, Nick Fuentes, America First is becoming kind of like a not mainstream, but more accepted in the mainstream. So I would definitely like to, if I had the time. Now with two little ones and all that, it's a little more difficult. But it always seemed like something was going on in my life. I was either in law school or I was dealing with the fallout of getting kicked out, struggling to pay the bills and stuff, so I couldn't make the trip, or what have you. But not against it. I was always a little bit wary of it earlier on, but I would like to. But mostly it's just having my bros backs on Zitter, getting into spats with Groypers, and kind of like double dragoning it with scumbags, and like our mutual friend who I guess now that you mention it, I had totally forgotten that's what that conversation was about, was the surrogacy thing.
Yeah. That's what sent him on over the edge, was saying that, you know, surrogacy is buying babies and it's not it's not pro life. Then somehow, like, that's when he had his like hate attack on me, and somehow I got roped in the conversation. Then I basically pointed out how like a lot of the like prominent gay conservatives that had surrogacy basically designer babied it, like Dave Rubin and stuff. They fertilized a bunch of eggs, chose 2 male embryos, and then disposed of the rest, which like you killed life. And then he went on about some Catholic ancient thing that it's like not considered life until like implantation. And I'm just like, no, like like you're just making this shit up at this point. Stop it.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. And I appreciate what you were saying earlier about how Groypers have like a lot of Groypers have like a genuine zeal for the faith and for Catholicism. And it's totally true. And I was thinking while you said that, there was a post I saw from one of these scumbag liberals, or leftists or whatever you want to call them, that was saying like, the right talks about inflammatory rhetoric, but then like the same people say that abortion is murder, and people that are in favor of abortion are pro murder. And it's like, well, but that's not inflammatory rhetoric. Like from a religious and biological perspective, like it's just objectively true. It's a
Yeah.
human life. And like you saying that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi, like that's actually inflammatory rhetoric. And it's essentially saying like we deserve to be killed, but we also don't. And I feel so weird relitigating the whole like leftist versus rightist thing after so many years, but
Yeah.
it feels kind of good to bring it back around because those people are scum.
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those things that really, with what happened to Charlie Kirk, and he was assassinated and murdered, and it, and that's why to me, I'm like, this would be a good time for a conversation, because I said like I'm not a groiper, I'm outside the groiper. There's a few groipers I'm very antagonistic with. There's a few like you that I really get along with, that I can jump in a conversation, have a great productive conversation. And I think one of the major lessons from Charlie Kirk is getting people from different conservative views like working together. It's
Absolutely.
we all have a common goal. We have different ideas of how it goes, but we don't need to fight. And I think that's a big lesson that I think a lot of people need to learn, is that hey, we have things in common, like Dangerous Rhetoric, with Brentley being the East Coast gay conservative, me being Midwest conservative Christian father. We have we have very different stances on some things, but at the same time too, we have a very strong passion for conservative values, being like pro-life, and like what level we go to is different, but we have that common goal that we can move the culture in a much better place than where it
Mm-hmm.
is. And and that's one thing I always say to somebody. It's like, it's like I'm almost like moderate to a fault, kind of thing. It's like, and you're gonna call me a Nazi, really? Because like
Yeah,
I said something, I challenged him, like, well, what's something good Trump did? It's like, well, that's a Nazi talking point. I'm like, how is that a Nazi talking point to ask you like what is something good he's done? Like, if you cannot legitimately say something good, then an achievement or something, then you obviously have just a blind hatred that's a stumbling block for you, that you can't move with it. And I think that's a big problem that sometimes on the right is having, is especially with this, is that just not fracturing, but kind of coalescing to like you know a, like a bunch of microorganisms coming together to form like a macroorganism to fight off the infection of leftism, is probably a good way to put it.
for sure. And I was thinking that, like with leftists and rightists, you have this like tendency to not be able to just see like one good thing in a person that you're supposed to be against. And it's such a mind broken, like thought slave kind of ideology that people have, this worldview where like they're the Netflix movie protagonist and the other
Yeah.
person's just like a bad guy who literally just does nothing but sits around in his bedroom and like thinks about how much he hates people. Like you just wake up hating somebody. But it's funny because so many people on the right do the same thing, where it's like,
Yeah.
if you were to ask one of those people, like, what's one good thing about Obama? What's one good thing about Biden? They're like, their heads would explode. And it's like, it's where, first of all, if you're going to be Catholic, if you're going to be Christian, if you're going to be like a rational, decent human being, you should see other people as having intrinsic value. And not very few people, well, maybe I won't say like a percentage, maybe there's like most people are just total scum through and through, but you should be able to see a little bit of God in everybody. And I think at least it's a worthwhile exercise if you don't start trying to just be like, you know what, I can't stand this person, but I'm going to find one good thing and I'm going to say it. when I first started Base Faith TV, I was back on Facebook years ago, and I had like a one nice or one thing I like about someone I really don't like, and that lasted for like a week and a half. And I've always joked about bringing it back, but I can just never bring myself to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it can be very difficult. I mean, because like it's one of those things, like, how I kind of came from a Pentecostal background. It's like some of these people, it's like I got the man, they're demonically possessed. There's like, something wrong with them. And then it's one of those things, like the sad answer I come to, it's our culture. Like
Mhm.
we've bred like a culture of just pure like cluster B personality. It's like not that they have like, like a biological like borderline personality. It's just like they've been raised to be this completely self-centered, self-absorbed, like a woman and a guy engage in sex, and the consequence of a baby coming from that, well, you can't hold them to that responsibility, even though it's like
Right.
even though it's a rational outcome of their ability. And like there's something evil about you for saying, well, you engage in activity with this being a possible outcome. It's, you need to take responsibility. And that's just like a purely narcissistic viewpoint. And the whole that, like, especially during the Trump, I remember the first term is that guy walked into that vape shop or something, and he had a Trump hat on, and the guy just starts screaming. I think it's down in
Mhm.
Georgia, and
Yeah, I remember that.
he just starts screaming because the guy had the hat on, and he could not, like, I use a term that he got emotionally incontinent. Is it like he just got emotionally incontinent because
Yep.
he couldn't just handle seeing it. And
He couldn't
it's
keep his pee pee poo poo in.
no, yeah, and it's like a really sad thing is that, like, at the slightest inconvenience, people just like lose their mind and think they're oppressed because they just have this constant me first mentality. And I think a lot of that is not seeing another person, especially a person you see like in opposition to you, as a person. And
Mhm.
that's a big struggle that I think, I don't, it's almost not really like a full right versus left. It's a very, it's a cultural thing, but it's more predominant on the left towards the right. Because I'm talking a lot here, but Dennis Prager said something years ago, and it took me a while to realize it. He said that hate doesn't flow from the right to the left; it flows from the left to the right. Because someone on the right will think someone on the left is misguided, and they don't understand all of the aspects of the argument, while someone on the left will look at the person on the right and be like, they're just evil. Like, they don't want me to have an abortion because they are evil. Well, we'll be like, no, it's a human life. All human life is sacred. And that's why I think it's so easy for the left to throw the labels out and be like, no, you're a Nazi. That's a Nazi talking point. And the left is like, no, like, sorry, the right is like, no, I'm not. I'm a good person. I help people. I do all this, and you get in that thing of like, you now have to work within their framework, which seems to be what the left has been good at, is making the framework that we have to use their language, like defending why we're not a Nazi, as they're, screaming at us. And I think that unfortunately, like, losing Charlie Kirk, like, people like, we don't care anymore. Like,
Yep.
you set the rules, we're going to play by it. And I've seen a number of teachers and stuff, they've gotten fired, kind of what happened with you with getting canceled at law school. Like, people couldn't handle the signs, and now people, their social media posts, it's, isn't this cancel culture? And people say, no, it's accountability culture.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, you're mad that we start playing by your rules, let's go for it. Kind of, I think, the mentality a lot of people have. um
Yeah. Speech
so
has consequences, bigot. That's you just got to learn.
yeah,
And well,
unfortunately.
I think it also is it has a lot to do with the fact that I don't think a lot of leftists have ever like truly been on the right and then converted. I think it's mostly like we all kind of grew up in the same culture, give or take 10 years of difference. And like we are all pretty much liberal at one point, or, closer to being liberal, or just seeing like the default worldview as being liberal, the way you're taught in school, or, TV, movies, music kind of brings you up to think that the world is a liberal place, that, everything that, is the standard belief is kind of leftist.
Yeah,
And it takes a little bit of rebellion, or, kind of kicking against the bars to become a rightist or a conservative or a right winger in our society. And I think most of these people are just children, and they genuinely like, I don't, somebody put it really well with this woman who, like, they did one of those street interviews, and they were asking, like, how do you feel about what happened to Charlie Kirk? And she was like, I
Oh,
was coming to him. And it's like, that's such a disgusting, evil thing to say, but
I'm
you
going to
can
interrupt you real
almost,
quick. You froze up there for a second.
oh,
What do you?
I'm sorry. Am
Oh,
I back?
yep, you're back.
Okay, cool. Well, I don't know how much you didn't hear, but
When they said that, they walked up and asked what you thought about Charlie Kirk, and then like you froze up there. You went robot
oh,
for a brief second.
so the young woman, maybe it was like a college student or a young lady or something, was like, well, I think he got what was coming to him. I think he totally deserved it, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, that's such a disgusting, evil thing for a person to say, but you can almost tell that these people don't really think, like, they think Charlie Kirk was put in some sort of like cosmic timeout, or like they
Mhm.
don't understand the concept of, like, this person is dead now. Like, he had a wife and two small children that no longer have a father forever. Like, those kids have to grow up without a dad for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And like, that's, how can you be so callous about it? And it's like, well, they don't think that far into it. They don't have that much horsepower, I guess, or that much
Well, I mean,
bandwidth.
yeah, like both you and I, like, I've had young kids, and it's just like they don't grasp the concept of permanence. Like like that shot was a permanent solution to the temporary like discomfort of what Charlie was saying.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't quite understand that, and it does show that very like underdeveloped infantile kind of mentality. And you're saying something made me think of it as how many people on the left want equity, and on the right was like, no, we can have equality. And they're like, no, we need equity. Well, like everybody has everything fairly, everything equal. And it's like, well, no, it's like, dude, I'm built like I was a good soldier and as a good football player. There's some people who are not gonna be that lucky kind of thing, but we're not everybody's gonna be equal. There's some things that we're gonna be better at, and like that concept of, well, that's not fair. It's like, but this comes under the whole argument of, yeah, things like life isn't fair. And
Right.
if it was, you'd probably be bitching about that too. But
Yeah, exactly.
and I think that's you hit the nail on the head, which is like how they don't have a concept of, no, he's gone. He's this was a permanent solution to a temporary problem that you're having. And it's almost like I had a few people in Discord that I was talking to them, and like, yeah, as soon as you said it, I was like, wow, they almost have like, it's like the game's on pause. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not. That's gone. It's like, and it's really sad to see people like adults that function like that.
Yeah,
And
it's some kind of brainwashing or something. There's like and people say NPCs, and I struggle to work that into like the Catholic framework, because obviously everybody has a soul, everybody is, valuable in the eyes of God. We're all equal in dignity before the eyes of God, but it really does feel like a lot of people are just NPCs. They're non-playable characters. Like, they just, they only exist insofar as an observer is watching or interacting with them. And then you interact with them and they have like these canned responses. And depending on how you kind of like push the button, you can almost predict exactly what they're going to say in
yeah,
response. And it goes no further than that. Like, it seems like there's no introspection ever. Like, they just receive
well,
talking point, download it, install, and then wait for next talking point.
well, I mean, I think it was iDubbbz's wife, Anissa, like she said something how she doesn't have an internal monologue. And I was and like that's what I always think about, like with like the NPC is like they never developed, like I think with a lot of people, like they never developed that internal monologue, like self-criticism, because it's always been like, you are so perfect and important the way you are. And so
Mhm.
you've never had to engage in introspection.
Right.
And so it's like, so she probably has an internal monologue but doesn't know what it is, kind of thing.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
And like I kind of think about like, the Peter Griffin, he had something where Meg was saying something to him, he's like, wait a minute, these are criticisms. And then like he like instantly tuned out. And I think like a lot of people, it's like our God-given free will to become better people, it's like they've taken this like current programming and patched that in, where it's like, no, I'm perfect, I'm good the way I am, I don't need to improve, you need to change because you don't understand how good I am. And it's like I said, I think it goes down to like the narcissistic thing that we see in a lot of people. And yeah, you talked about Hitler. Like another joke I say is that if aliens ever attack us, it's not because of Hitler's speech during the Olympics from 1938, was it? I forget, but it's the first broadcast to go out of the atmosphere. Aliens going to attack us when they get Real Housewives
Yeah.
broadcast hitting them. Like, that's what's going to prompt aliens to attack us. And
Dude. Oh my gosh. If what's going on in the world today is being beamed into outer space, we are cooked, bro.
I know. Well, I think it's like a weird cultural thing is that we've had people who like just haven't ever had to personally develop or better themselves. They've always been kind of celebrated, and it's kind of gotten that like mentality of like the kind of like the, what's in it for me? And it's, and I mean, there's a lot of aspects to that we can go all different like angles of like stuff, but it's like, I just see that. I see people all the time. It's like, oh, what's in it for me? Instead of like, well, no, like this might hurt me, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's that concept of like somebody else, like, like you're at the self checkout and like somebody has like, there's a $20 bill there. It's like, well, the person that got the $20 cash back probably needs the $20. So you should probably flag him down and give it to him, not pocket it. And like,
Right.
how many people don't have a concept of that because like they, this is theirs. Just because you found it doesn't make it yours.
Dude,
And
the selfishness in society, aside from the narcissist, I mean, I guess those kind of go hand in hand, but like you're driving on the road and people just cut you off and they like you let them in, they don't wave. You're at the store and somebody like runs to get in front of you in line, and it's like I probably would have just let you in, but now like I'm upset about it. You denied me the opportunity to feel good about letting you go before me. Like how much more of an asshole can you be? Like just, everybody's just constantly thinking, like you said, like what's in it for me, or like it's mine, that's mine. And it's like, well, at a certain point, the social compact, the shared society that we have just no longer functions because we're not sharing it. Like everybody is making sure the other guy doesn't take it from them. And then that means they're taking it from someone else. And it's just constant. Everybody is just an asshole. And I apologize if I shouldn't be cursing. I
mean, no, we on some of our live streams that like we go live and have like roundtable discussions. So we swear, it's fine. Just don't get gratuitous with it.
I've been trying to work on it. I'm very bad at it, but I will do my absolute best.
No, I mean, I've got that where I try to, I catch myself better than I am. Like I said, some of my responses, I think that one chick that works at MSNBC, she tweeted something really stupid. So I responded with a GIF of the reporter from The Simpsons. It's like dumb words from a dumb cunt. I'm like, well, I didn't type it out, so it's okay. but it's like all I can think is like this is the dumbest cuntiest thing you could say given the situation right now.
It's
like
crazy, dude. I just don't understand these people.
Yeah,
there's the nastiness and the evil and just like the total flippancy with which people say these disgusting, awful things. I don't even like talking about it, but I saw somebody shared a meme from somebody else, a meme where it was like a girl with like chunks of blood and viscera all over her face, just like, uh, I guess a cartoon or like some fictional portrayal of something like that. And it was like Charlie Kirk's daughter in the front row. And it's like, what the fuck would possess you to say something like that or to post something like that?
Like, there's like, it's kind of one of those things like, too soon. And it's just like the whole, like that's, it's one of those things like the whole purpose of that is just to be an asshole and to upset people.
Yeah.
And the right, we have that too. Like we have people who will do stuff like that, but it's like the people who are gonna be honest and be like, no, it's not cool when we do it either. Right. And it's like, to me, it's like that lack of empathy. I saw a lot of people like posting the picture of Charlie Kirk with the was were. It's like, I'm like, fuck you. You know, just like go into a cornfield and fuck yourself with that. Like,
Yeah.
kind of thing. It just, there's a time and a place. It's like, and that's where it comes down to empathy. It's like, I think there's a lot of horrible people. Like something horrible happened to Ilhan Omar since I lived in Minnesota for a long time, recently, moved to Wisconsin. If something horrible happened to her, I wouldn't celebrate it. I wouldn't be happy about it. Like if something happened where she couldn't be in office anymore, I'd be glad she's not in office, but I'd be sad about something horrible happening to her. And that's like baseline human empathy, that this is like a human being. As much as you disagree with them, or as much as you might hate them, it's a human being, and there's people in their lives that they impact and are going to be hurting because of it.
Right.
And it's almost like, and that's what the Dennis Prager thing is like, is it because the right has empathy? That like the left thinks they do, but like we actually have it, kind of thing. It's like, the in group out group. Well, like
Yeah.
what conservatives kind of have, like the whole like circle of like everybody, and the left has like that branch to the out group. Like
Yeah.
is that really like what the empathy is, that we can empathize with someone we have nothing in common with, while you can only empathize with like somebody who isn't your enemy? Like,
That's exactly what came to mind when you said that, was that heat map of
yeah,
like
the heat map.
conservative versus liberal. And it's like liberals like genuinely care more about rocks and like toads. And I love nature. I love animals and stuff, but they care more about these inanimate objects and these animals and strangers and foreigners than they do about their own families. And I mean, it makes sense because a lot of it is like, I have mommy and daddy issues, and I hate whatever they raised me as. I hate that, and that's the root of all evil. So I'm going to go in the total opposite direction. That's where you see these freaks, these disgusting freaks with their goblin haircuts. You see these TikToks of women going to the barber, and they get like, I don't know, they just have like a little patch of bangs, and the
Oh
rest
yeah.
of it's like buzzed, and then they have piercings like all the way down their nose, and it's like, you want to look like a goblin to make me mad, and then get mad at me for being mad about it, because
Yeah,
you hate your neighbor, you hate society, you hate your parents. But
it's kind of funny. I was talking to one of my friends that's like here in like the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, because they've never been to like the Twin Cities or anything. And like uptown Twin Cities is like a lot of alternative people. And I had this one chick just start screaming at me because she didn't do her hair for me. And it's like, okay, first off, I called that you went to hair police, because because the style of haircut and the dye job was really that good. Everyone knows who hair police is. And my question was, oh wow, who'd you see at hair police? Like, then so you start screaming at me that you didn't do it for me. It's like, I'm complimenting you that it's really nice. Like, or people like, I've got tattoos, like one of them is like a cover up because of like a scar, like when I had combat, and but you can, people have tattoos, and like it's just like, well then don't show them. Like, if you don't want people to look at them, don't show them. you know
right.
it's like the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry worldwide privacy tour kind of thing. It's like, you want to make yourself so alarming to look at, but we can't look at you.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's like, no, it means I'm probably gonna make fun of you.
Yeah, yeah, and so, going into it, their thought process is like, I'm gonna look so cool doing this. I can't wait for somebody to say something, but they better not say something. And then it's like, you
Yeah,
say even something nice, you say something, and it's like, my chance has come. My opportunity has arisen. But
yeah.
I was just thinking, I can't remember where I heard it. I never know. I can never pick like the saint or the whoever said this, but I think it was maybe like a sermon or something, Father Ripperger or something on Sensus Fidelium, famous exorcist. If you've never heard him, he's got a lot of really good talks from before he was like an e-celeb priest. But he was talking about how like demons and angels, and stop me if this is getting a little too wacky for the audience. I genuinely believe all of this
No,
100%. I think it's absolutely real.
it's dangerous rhetoric. Go down the rabbit hole.
Oh, okay, perfect. So demons and angels have the ability to like play with your emotions and manipulate your memories and your feelings. Like they can't necessarily make you do things, but they can switch what's going on sort of in the like mental projection in your mind. They can pull memories from the archive and like pull them to the forefront. And obviously that's one of the reasons they say you should never ever look at porn as a man, is because forever demons will be able to take those memories and torture you with them. But
Mhm.
so the example he gave, and the reason I brought this up is because in a lot of cases, like you could say something nice to somebody who is just like in a bad mood, or like something is causing them to just like see things kind of more darkly than they actually are. You pay someone a compliment and immediately it's like they perceive it as though you're attacking them. And
Mhm.
it's this, I think people don't put enough thought into the fact that like communication and interpersonal relationships aren't this like, black and white thing. Like our perception of reality is still very much a mystery to us, even with all the years of science and psychology and all that stuff. So like when you're speaking to somebody, you have to be cognizant of the fact that they are perceiving it in like through a lens that they've kind of built and framed and shaded over their lifetime. And the way you intend it, especially over text, is often not how it's taken. But I think, again, this is one of those things with people on the right that are like, we're kind of, and I think maybe this is a generality, although in my experience it holds up, that like we have interacted with and have respected and built relationships with people from more walks of life and more backgrounds and more ideologies, because we understand the world is, you know, it's diverse, for lack of a
Yeah.
better word. But leftists are very much like, if you're not exactly like me, if you're not on exactly the same page, if you say something I find kind of offensive, like I'm jumping down your throat right now and we're going to go to fists about it. And it's like, that's just not how the world works,
Yeah.
unless you want to get beat up like all the time.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, it's one of those things I think about is like, we getting rid of bullying kind of has like allowed stuff like that to foster is I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was a Catholic mystic, and she kind of like a lot of her teachings became part of it. And I wish I could remember the book, but it was as a Protestant author, and they talked about like holistic Christianity, and it's like a lot of it's kind of like I don't know how to word it like well enough, but it's like the non-aggression kind of thing is that like you don't know what the other pain the person is going through. So like I had this happen a few times. Like when I was at a college, and I'd open the door for somebody, and I had a couple of women snap on me, thinking I can't get the door for myself, and I'm like, I'm actually making myself subservient to you. Like this is the role that a servant would normally take. That I'm giving you preferential treatment and showing you respect. And then like because they were so used to like, oh, it's male oppression, it's like it's patriarchy, it's all this, and like I could just see like the wiring in their head trying to cope with a guy be like, no, I'm being respectful and subservient to you by opening the door. And like even like it's weird like coming to like the middle of nowhere Wisconsin, like growing up a military brat, being in the military, everybody, like any man or woman I don't know is sir or ma'am.
Right.
Like somebody my age or younger, it's like, excuse me sir, excuse me ma'am, it. And like it was in the Twin Cities, like you never saw that. And like then like out here, like middle of nowhere, is like this level of respect. It's like, man, it is like the Twin Cities leftist culture, like teaching kids that oh, or you're important, the other person
Right.
isn't. And I think, I mean, we're kind of like dancing around that stuff a lot, but it's getting me thinking is that, man, we do need more like a stronger religious foundation in this country to get back to that stuff. Because I mean, it's sad to see so many people just like it's almost like I don't want to say, like it's almost like a Nietzschean thing, that it's like just this like emptiness that they are just filling with the self, and that you can never like fill yourself with yourself.
Right.
It's never going to be enough. And I think that's a big difference between people on the right and the left, is that people on the right are more likely to be, well, I mean, is it like red pilled about like more white pilled, like having a hopeful outlook, while a lot of people on the left is constantly have these like weird doomsday things,
Y-
like like the existential threat to the human race of climate. It's
yeah.
like I'm old enough where I learned that we're going to die of an ice age in the 2000s. It's like
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. All right, just calm down. But it's always like everything is like doom and gloom, end of the world. And it's like I wonder if that's just really a lot of it is that they don't have like a strong spiritual foundation of, you know, Catholic or Protestant, or, you know, something that they can put a hope in outside of themselves, or outside like an immediate gratification.
No, I definitely think that has at least a lot to do with it. And I just a couple of nights ago, I did a stream with this guy, Korak the Bard, and he
Yeah,
has
I started to watch part of it. I didn't get fully into it because I got busy during the day today, but it's on my Rumble playlist.
so I don't want this to come off as nasty, because he was actually like a nice guy and we had some chuckles and whatever. But the first stream we did just a couple of nights prior to that, he had me on his show
Mhm.
on YouTube, and like he just hated me. He was just like super rude and nasty. And he made like this whole like 20-minute long video about me and just like tried to tear me to shreds. And I was just, he was like, I've got a running bet whether or not you're going to stay here for the whole thing. And I was like, I'm not, I told you I was going to be here. Like, I don't care about your insults. I'm an awesome karaoke singer. And, you know, my mic was crap. I'm blaming my mic. I've got a new mic now. So anytime we want to karaoke, but he was like really digging into me. And then I had him on my show, and I like had thoughts where I was like, how am I going to embarrass this guy? How am I going to come after him? But then I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to like, especially with this Charlie Kirk thing, like I'm really trying to be more congenial with people and more understanding and empathetic. I think we all need that, but I had challenged him to do like a theism versus anti-theism debate. And I don't really do debates, and I know that's
Yeah.
like very played out at this point, but he's like the internet anti-theist, the internet's favorite anti-theist or something he calls himself. And so I prepared this opening statement, and like it touched on a number of different arguments for the existence of God, but like I
Yeah.
focused in on the moral argument, because this guy, like many of his cohorts, was saying nasty, callous things about Charlie Kirk and the people that were mourning him and everything that happened. And the idea was, a lot of people would say that, like, you know, and people like him would say that morality doesn't truly exist. Like it's a byproduct of society and maybe like evolution and all this stuff. And like you could get into the weeds with somebody like that by like, well, what if tomorrow it became legal to kill 5-year-olds or something? And it's like, well, it's an effective argument. I just don't think it's worth playing that game, because they'll
Yeah.
figure out all sorts of loopholes. But it's very clear that these people, they truly do believe in objective morality. They believe, they don't experience like displeasure. They become morally outraged when you say the N word, or you call somebody the F word, or you're not polite to a trans person. And like you were saying, like it's all doom and gloom. There is always a trans genocide. And it's like, I always see these trans people working at Walmart, and it's like, I can't even
Yeah.
be like rude to you, and there's a genocide going on.
Yeah, I mean, to interject, I was laughing like Steven Crowder. It's like there isn't a transgender murder epidemic. Like in the United States, if you exclude Puerto Rico and the transgender prostitutes there, it's like kind of his argument is like, well, I mean, if you look at the statistics, he's right.
I
Like
never thought about that, but that
I
makes a
mean,
lot of
that's
sense.
basically where most of the transgender murders are. It's transgender prostitutes in Puerto Rico. It's like, oh well, he's got a point there. But
That makes a
sorry,
lot of sense. No, it's I'm glad you said that, because that's now part of my like my database, because I had no idea. I always just assumed like it's just nonsense.
yeah,
They're just lying. And I know there's like a suicide epidemic amongst transgenders, and that's tragic. I think those people generally are like, they're probably abused or some other horrible. And now I think with the culture sort of like, and maybe it's going in the other way at this point, but for a while, I think the numbers were increasing just because people thought it was cool and different or whatever. But I genuinely think probably a tremendous percentage of those people were abused as children, and now like they're just all messed up. Everything they know about love and romance and hierarchy, power dynamics, like it's all just
yeah.
scrambled gooble gobble. But my point was to say, and I'll wrap it up. I don't mean to keep ranting, but
Oh no, it's
um,
fine.
the moral argument for God, like you cannot have objective morality without a being that exists on its own, like of its own nature, which is perfectly good, and all other things are judged in relationship to that thing, and that thing is something we call God. And an atheist might say that they don't believe in objective morality, but they act very much like they do believe in objective morality. The way they become morally outraged, or they'll kill you if
Yeah.
you say something that you think is, if they think is offensive to them. But what happens when you stop believing in objective morality isn't that you get rid of objective morality. It's that your morality becomes corrupted. And that's where we are now. We've unmoored ourselves from Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior. And as a result, people are just totally off the rails. Their understanding of reality itself is so far removed from center, from like the objective
Yeah.
truth, that everything goes, anything goes. And the only thing that people can't be tolerant of is saying that there's like one truth. It's not speak your truth, sister, speak your truth. Like there's no your truth.
Yeah.
It's just the truth. And once you veer away from that, once you decide that like, well, anything can be true, you still know that there's truth, you still know that there's right and wrong, but you now are trying to decide, and it's like floating around in the darkness trying to like grab at just random things. And that's just where we are. And I think, like you said, we need to immediately get back to a much more spiritually centered, and not spiritually like, Kabbalah or
Yeah.
astrological signs or anything like that, but like we need Christianity at the center of the society again, because that's
Yeah.
how it worked before, and that's how Western civilization was founded. And whatever we're doing now is not working. The suicide and the violent crime and the deaths of despair and the drugs and the alcoholism, the promiscuity and fornication, abortion, you go on
Yeah.
and on. Like nothing is working, literally
Yeah.
nothing. And people aren't even getting rich anymore. You
Yeah. I
maybe
mean,
could have
it's,
justified it 50 years ago when I could buy a house with a summer job, but not now.
I mean, you have a lot of people self-medicating with like, drugs, promiscuity, just, oh, did the
I
sound go
can't
out?
hear you if you're
Is it, did it go out? Let's see here. Problem solving. I'm too much of a boomer to tech solve and keep my thoughts at the same time.
dude. Yeah, no, it's a real problem in my life too with the streaming. It's always something. But we were talking about um all the different ways that everything is breaking down because people
Oh
are
yeah.
unmoored.
Yeah, the self-medication that we have within society. And I actually had something where I was it was a debate of how like the JQ people have kind of morphed into the CQ people, the Christ questions.
Mm.
Like, and I've had a few people like, call me Christ cuck, or like,
Oh
like
yeah.
how Christianity is a Jewish psyop. And someone I thought was actually pretty cool. I'm like, hey, I approached him like, I honestly do not get where you're coming from. And then like, can we have a discussion? Have you like, just kind of walk me through the steps? And like, he instantly turned into a blood sports. And I'm like, I didn't want to blood sports on this because
Yeah.
I don't get it. And that's one thing I asked him was like, can you have an objective morality without a God figure? And he's like, yeah, of course you can. So I go, so something can be objectively wrong. And it was kind of funny. Like I brought up different like cultures and stuff, and his answer, everything was like, I don't care about them. They're brown. And I'm like, okay, but the thing is like a cultural shift for us can bring us there. Like I forget the exact tribe off the top of my head, but it was like, it's an Amazonian tribe where like the highest feat is basically betraying like someone who trusts you. Like that's considered a virtue because like you're able to like betray them. And it's yeah, like it's like one of my class. I remember learning about it, and I had pulled it up prior to the thing because I was going to ask about morality kind of thing. And one of my professors in Bible college was a missionary, and in his class, like he talked about them, and he's basically, I don't care about them, they're brown. And I'm like, well, don't you see the point? Is that a cultural shift? Our norms can shift if we don't have a foundation. And to me, the term Judeo-Christian is like, I mean, this is something I had to argue with him about, how like, well, Christianity, because of evangelicals, like post World War II, was like hijacked by Zionism.
Right.
Like it's like one of the major institutions that we get a lot of this, like a lot of these stuff, how Ted Cruz said, quoted from Genesis about how we bless Israel. It's like, that's not saying the blanket statement, but it just, I always, even the account Protesta, which talks about, like religious stuff. And I said, the problem is that we have severely undereducated evangelical pastors, that they hear the stuff and they will just preach nonsense because it sounds good.
Right.
And they don't have a foundation. And it's like, because there are people I went to Bible college with, and they became pastors basically because they married a pastor's daughter. And so they therefore got a pastorship, at an Assemblies of God school. I'm like, that's not really qualification. It's like none of them took Greek, none of them took Hebrew. They don't know the difference between homiletics or hermeneutics. Like, they didn't know anything. Like, it was just, it's like, I don't think a bachelor's degree qualifies you to be a minister, kind of thing. We need to have the standard of like a master in divinity, because like you learn the stuff, and that's like one thing I always think about is like, we have a lot of this corruption that came into the church, like, and just downgraded it. And a lot of the theology, like there's a church was in the Twin Cities. I think it was an ELCA church, an evangelical Lutheran, that they did the Sparkle Creed.
Oh goodness.
Like God of many genders, and whose like pronouns are pearl. It's just like, no, stop it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or they did the new international version, the new it's the NIV version, like new international version inclusive.
Oh my gosh.
And it is like, it's just like, my pastor, I was joking with him, but I go, well, I hope this is a blast for you, because it's a blast for me. Like they like creation, they rewrote it where like Eve was created first, and then like Adam told her like to eat the apple. It's just like, this is not what it says at all. You can in no way come to this conclusion. And like, I mean, my postgraduate studies, through my PhD was on how beliefs are formed. That fascinates me, kind of thing. And it's like, well, how do these beliefs get here, kind of thing. And it's, and like some of the stuff is like, okay, well, the Our Father prayer would be like, our Creator who art in heaven. Okay, I can kind of get it, but then like you completely throw you just completely throw out the scripture to make it say what you want at this point. Like you're completely ignoring, I think I made a tweet the other day. It's about how they say like Jesus would be a liberal or something. I'm like, yeah, but you then crucify him when he says go and sin no more.
Right.
It's like, it's like, love your neighbor. It's like, yeah, but you're forgetting other things he said. Or like, judge not, you see, be judged. Yeah, in the same way that you judge, you too shall be judged. So it means that if you're living by the biblical standards, the standards you want to be judged by, you're the clear.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you miss that part, and like, so like, I guess online friends that I'm friendly with, like they're the kind of the CQ people, like the Christ question people, and they'll send me a verse. I remember they sent me something from Kings about how I'm trying to remember the prophet, but it says like how the prophets lied. And so I'm like, okay, well, what's the context? And I kind of walked him through it. Is that the kings of Israel and Judea, they wanted to do something, so they had prophets basically tell them what they wanted to hear. Then the prophet of God came and said, no, this is what it is. And then like they end up expelling him, so it's like, no, like the other prophets weren't really prophets. The prophet told the truth. They had, prophets tell them what they wanted to hear. God didn't instruct prophets to lie. It's like, but if you take that one verse, it tells you what you want to hear.
Well,
So
you have to be like really stupid or just totally ignorant and willing to be ignorant and remain in ignorance to not know. Like the Bible is it's so many books. It's so many books over so many years by so many authors. And it's like, well, did you see this one line in Kings? And it's like, what was Kings about? Exactly. What was, did you know what the book of Kings was about? It was about the Jews like repeatedly turning against God and getting blown out, and then turning back to God, and God sending them, like a righteous, or God would send them a righteous man to lead them, and they would get back with God, and then things would go great, and then it would be great. So they would turn into, other cultures, religions, and stuff. Like the whole book of Kings and a lot of the Old Testament is about the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites, doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
It's like, well, but have you heard this verse? It's
Yeah.
like, well, look, and my big question for people like that, especially for like the pagan LARPers, people are like, well, why would I worship some god from the Middle East when like Germans had a god already? And it's like, okay, well, what does your God offer me? What has your God done for me exactly? He needs me to sacrifice something, hopefully something and not someone, but then like I get something like so he's not offering me anything for free.
Yeah.
My God died horribly for me, and your God did what? He drank dead guy's jizz for strength and like turned into a horse and like seduced people and had sex with like his son or something, like all these weird things. And like,
Yeah.
why? What's Sell me on your God? My God created everything and loves me and never stops thinking about me and died terribly for me. What did your God do? And it's, well, you're Jewish. Like, okay, cool, good argument.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the you're Jewish. It's like you worship a Jew. It's like, well, I mean, okay, sure. That makes you feel better. We'll go for it. But yeah, it's just like, and like the weird, like the LARPers that are in that group. It's just there's one of them. I don't want to cast shade, but like he's like a former rapper, and
Oh
like
no.
one of them showed me some of his videos, and I'm like, okay, I'm friends with gay people, and this is the gayest shit I've seen in a long time. Like like the co-host of Dangerous Rhetoric is a gay man. Like he's very gay in his postings, but this is some gay shit right here.
That's so funny. And
And,
you,
and I said, like, okay, in the music video, he's got a Jim Morrison poster over his bed. I go, I hope to God this isn't actually his house, because that is gay to have a Jim Morrison, as a guy, to have a Jim Morrison poster over your bed. Like either a gay teenager or a girl lives there.
he just
Like,
had to look into Jim's eyes every night
I know.
before he went to sleep.
It's just like this weird LARP, and they try to be like, they're so hard. It's like, no, you're not.
No,
you know,
it's super performative. And it's, I mean,
yeah,
Wignat is like the funniest and the perfect description of these people. They're Wigger nationalists. It's all a big LARP. Like they are not, they want to be like their ancestors. And it's like, well, your ancestors were Christian for like 1,000 years, but even beyond that, before that, like if you want to be like your ancestors, then like go live in the forest and live in a hut and
yeah,
sacrifice a child every winter so that you can survive or something. Like,
yeah. It's like the communist anti-capitalist people posting from Starbucks with their MacBook and iPhone. It's
yeah,
like, dude, like go start a farm and live off the land, and and give part of your bounty to the gods, and like go for it.
yeah, exactly.
Don't go to streaming service and scream the N-word at like kids. That's you're not really adjusting anything. It's funny that you said Wignat, because like this is where, like, 'cause I'm a boomer and the stuff I don't know. Like I'm like, it's like, okay, like I was talking from, like, I have no idea what this is. Like all I can think of is Wigger nationalist, and like, no,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And it's just perfect for these people. Like, and there are a few of them I think that like were or are rappers, SoundCloud rappers or something. And it's
Yeah,
like then you became like George Lincoln Rockwell, you're a Nazi, and like you worship Wotan. And it's like you're just like all of the worst things. You're just like making yourself the most cringe LARPer of all time. Not to
yeah.
say whatever, but like just these people, like they are magnets for bad optics and cringe.
Well,
I don't know.
that's it for me. Like I can never take Stu Peters seriously, because I mean, first of all, he was in Minneapolis where I lived for a long time, and so his rap thing, like I can't watch one of his rap videos without being, oh, I know where that is. That's in St. Paul, or that's Minneapolis.
Oh, that's cool.
And then like when he was a bail bondsman, but he dressed up like a cop and was doing like videos like he was a cop, like he impersonated a cop, and it's just
I
like,
didn't even know that.
yeah, this is some Stu Peters like deep cut stuff, and like I just remember in the Twin Cities like hearing about Stu Peters like impersonating cops, and so I have like a different like connection to him than like most people. So I'm just like, I can't take you serious in like anything you do because you've tried to be you try to be like a wigger rapper, you tried to be like a bail bondsman, LARPing as a cop, like trying to arrest people. Like he even like staged like takedowns, like he was like a SWAT team, but it was like somebody he knew. It was like it got really bad.
Oh
It
my
got really
gosh.
cringe. So
Jeez.
now, then like his J-proof coin, it's like, Stu, I'm sorry, but anything you do, I think is going to be a scam.
Yeah, no
I,
kidding.
I can't help it at this point.
You
But
know
yeah,
what? It's got to give him a little bit of street cred though. Like he's always been hood. He's truly hood. They don't even know how street this guy is. He's like selling bootleg DVDs on the street corner and hustling people with his crypto. Just a scammer from the start.
yeah. So I mean, it's kind of, that's where I say like being in the position I am, where I'm like not really plugged into like any one group or like solid movement. I'm kind of like bumping up, like I'm like the Venn diagram, like the circle in the middle, like kind of in all these other ones that kind of overlap. So it's just kind of interesting because like people like, oh, like I have a friend that's like down in New Orleans and he's like saying how much he loves Stu Peters. I'm like, oh man. And so I sent him
Why?
I don't know. I was trying to figure it out. So I sent him one of his like rap videos, and like this guy's amazing. He's so funny. And I was like describing to the wife. I'm like, okay, so the X-Men Gambit. Imagine Gambit saying really racist and base shit all the time. Like that's what this guy is.
That
It's,
sounds
it's,
awesome.
and so like, and then so I sent him one of Stu Peters' videos. He's like, I hate Coon Tunes, and just the way he said it, I'm just like, oh.
Coon
It's like
tunes. I
just
like that.
imagine like the X-Men Gambit saying that is like it's like the voice. It's just like I'm like, man, this is amazing.
That guy
But
sounds awesome.
yeah, he's a pretty funny guy. He keeps a low profile though, but he's funny. I'm like, yeah, this is Stu Peters. This is him rapping and like some Asian lady with like Daisy Dukes twerking. It doesn't make sense, but this is
Oh
what he
my
made.
gosh.
Yeah, so it's
That's so Gambit's like such an been in the
but
cartoon a lot more, but then like if he was racist, that would be just way better. Like he just says a slur as he throws one of the kinetically charged cards. It'd be awesome. But yeah,
yeah, it's
I puzzle to think what is it about Stu Peters that he has like fans? Like
well,
what does
it's
he even do other than
well, I mean,
scam
I
people?
think it's one of those things that he can do charisma really well.
Hmm.
And I think that's part of it, is that he can do strong charisma and do the very persuasive thing. Because like the one person donut operator, he can still really lean into the I'm a cop, believe me kind of thing. And I got booted from his Discord because I pointed out that I my military career was longer than him being a cop or his tenure in the military, because he basically was going to be special forces like Mr. Ballin, but he washed out. And then he's like a cop, and he was a SWAT officer, but he actually was like the auxiliary. So like if you're in the middle of like nowhere, they have cops that are kind of like the backup SWAT. So like
Hmm.
the biggest town to me, like Eau Claire, Wisconsin, like if they need extra SWAT people, they'll tap him from his town. It's like, well, you're not really on the SWAT team. You have SWAT training that if they're short on officers, they pull you. And it's like I pointed all this out because like this is ridiculous. And like they booted me from his Discord. But he can do that really like strong presentation about like, when he's breaking down like police shootings, like he can sound really authoritative because he can do that
Mhm.
cop persuasive thing, which is a skill that a lot of cops can do. But the thing is, like, you haven't been a cop for like 2 decades. Like you don't know common practices, that you don't know best practices at this point.
Right.
You can just present it like you know what you're talking about. And I think that's like with Stu Peters, he can really present like, hey, believe me, I'm an expert, I have the know. I'm tapped in kind of thing. And I think that's what really sells it for people, is the way he can present stuff.
There's something to be learned there. I mean, I guess you kind of have to be a scumbag, but one thing you learn when you start like creating and interacting with other creators online is like a lot of people are kind of like frauds. Like, and
Yeah.
maybe not even necessarily fraud is kind of an indictment, but a lot of people are really just pretending, and there's like a shamelessness about it, and good for some of them. Like, you really don't need to be an
Yeah.
expert on a lot of things, but it's just weird to, like, I always think everything that I do, everything that I say, like, I'm always terrified if I don't know what I'm talking about 100%, or like if I'm not 100% truthful about something, it's going to come around. Somebody's going to be like, wait a minute, and call me out on it. But like, people are doing that all the time, like just
Yeah.
pretending, and they get famous, and it's this overconfidence and this like
Yeah.
over assuredness. As long as you can project that well enough, people will generally just believe you.
Yeah. It's like the cult of personality trait. You can,
Mhm.
you really project like the believe me bro kind of thing.
Yeah.
And and you're saying the right things to people, and it's like people listening to you, then more people listen to you because other people are listening to you. And it's a very interesting way that, like, like how you get these like weird online beliefs, and then people kind of fall in because like they persuaded some people, but then other people kind of then follow the lead, which is why a lot of times then some of them like will fall apart,
Yeah.
when stuff comes about. But yeah, I mean, that's what for me, like I kind of jokingly do like the Professor Tie-Dye thing, because it's like, well, I kind of have my crunchy roots where I've just made tie-dye, and I'm like, well, I'll just lean into it, you know. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of people's like, well, it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'll lean into it. What do you do? Make fun of it? Cool.
Yeah.
I bet you don't make your own tie-dye. Yeah, that's right. Kind of
I,
thing.
no kidding.
But I mean,
But
it's like one of those things that, you have these people who put out that weird persona, and they did just kind of be like, oh, I'm so amazing, and then it's just like, no, you're not. You actually have a studio apartment, like it's got roaches, but it's like, and that's like to me too, because like I have people like talk shit about like my animals, and because I rescue exotics that people don't want, and someone tried to
oh, that's really cool.
like some people try to talk shit to me about like, oh no, he's got like a lizard, he's got spiders. I'm like, all right, fine, yeah, cool. They're behind me, you know. And it's like, yeah, I got two tarantulas here because somebody was just going to kill them, and I'm like, well, they didn't choose to be pets. Somebody bought them to take care of them, and this is where my Saint Francis of Assisi kind of street comes in. That like, no, like God didn't create them for you to buy them and then like kill them. I'll take them and find a home for them.
Oh, that's really cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I grew up in a farm, so like I have this like weird like deep love of animals, and I think just like I think hurting an animal for like no reason at all is like one of the worst things a person can do, because it's just like, it's created by God. There's a difference between food and stuff, but like it, like abusing a pet, like to me is just like, no, that
Yeah.
like to me is like, that's the unforgivable sin, kind of thing. Like abusing something that you took the role of entrusted care for, like you have betrayed this innocent thing's trust. Like that's me getting fanatical, but I'm like, I just think that is completely abhorrent, and like, same thing with children look to adults, for protection and guidance, and
Yeah.
people like, to me, it's that violation of innocence that I
No,
think
I,
is like the huge betrayal. And I think that pets are the same way. Like someone, like, I'm like, if someone abuses their dog, death penalty.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's my knee jerk reaction, my honest knee jerk reaction. But it's just like, I just like, I love nature. I love like where I am. I can just like walk outside and just be surrounded by trees. I can, walk a quarter mile, go fly fishing, that kind of stuff. And
Oh, that's awesome.
but it's, and I think that some people don't have the respect, and some people think it's creepy that, I've got like a scorpion here, I got the tarantulas, and it's like, well, no, it's somebody bought them from Petco, and then all of a sudden it grew up huge, not knowing what it was. I'm like, well, if you're just going to kill it, I'll take care of it and I'll find it another home, so it's,
No, and I totally agree. I mean, especially with dogs, there's like a weird thing on the right where every so often people are like, if you love dogs, you're gay or something. And it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. bro.
No.
But I'm like, I don't, I hate spiders. I saw arachnophobia when maybe hate's the wrong word, but I saw arachnophobia when I was a kid, and it gave
Mhm.
me arachnophobia. So now I'm like severely arachnophobic. But even when I find spiders in the house, like I try very hard to like just get them out without killing them. Cause it's like, I'm terrified of them. I think the way they move is like, it's
Yeah.
the stuff of nightmares to me for some reason. I don't know. There's something like hardwired, but I don't want to hurt them. Like they're just kind of like doing their thing. They're walking
Yeah.
around to my house. Maybe they got in by accident and they're looking for the exit. And then like, what? I'm supposed to just come up and end their life for no reason.
Yeah.
I just
It's
don't.
funny. When I was in Bible college, like this big hornet got into like one of my like female friends' dorm room, and she's gonna call me because like it's during the summer, no one else is around like to come take care of it. And her roommate's like, no, don't call JL. He'll just put it outside and I'll get back in. But like, yeah, even like the wife too, like house centipedes, they're harmless. Like they look freaky. They're the ones that have the long
Mhm.
feathery legs. And like for me, it's like I got a lot of books and they kill silverfish. Like so, like the
Hmm.
stuff that will damage things, and they're like completely harmless to people, but they look completely freaky. And like you know, especially being in like the middle of nowhere, like pest bugs that come in, they take care of them. So
Hmm.
it's like, well, they're actually kind of good. They creep me out, but you know, but they have a benefit, and it's kind of one of those things. It's like I always say, like I think I made the comment in your post too, is that like you know, dogs are one of the best gifts that God has
Mhm.
given humanity. Is that I mean, even looking at like very like this is where I'm kind of like I guess microevolution, that humans have changed over time from primitive era, but like even very primitive humans coexisted with wolves,
Mhm.
it's almost like you know we're made for companionship with God, and God made dogs for companionship with us. It's kind of like where you know I begin to go to, but that's me where I go into kind of my hippie spirituality and this kind of stuff. But
None.
I kind of made the joke too that like if a person's not caring for a pet or a bunch of house plants, I kind of question their morality.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm right there with you. I don't know. Maybe I have a little bit of hippie in me. I know I was a little more of one when I was like a young guy, a teenager, I guess. But I think there's just something lacking in your personality or like your virtue or your spirit or something. If you can just, because I see that all the time where people are like, well, who cares? It was just a dog or it was just a cat or something. That's
Yeah,
like, how can you, have you never had a pet? Like, do you not understand the concept of being responsible for something's safety and nourishment and like
yeah,
forming a bond with something like some sort of companion of any kind? And then how can you not extrapolate that to an animal, and like specifically an animal that has been bred and has evolved, so to speak, to be like to tug on your heartstrings, like their
yeah,
face and their gestures and everything. Like it's all supposed to, like if your brain doesn't interface with this creature in some way, like you might have a screw loose or something. I don't know.
yeah. It's kind of that psychopath. You don't form, you can't form like an intent like the attachment to something that needs your protection.
Yeah.
And I think you know I think that's a very like you know kids having pets and stuff like I've always viewed that as important for my kids. You know, and like my first dog, she was trained as like you know being combat. She was like trained for to be a therapy animal for me. And when she passed, my girls took it very hard. But also too is like part of life. They understood. You know, she got old. She was sick. You know, and like when I went to the vet, they didn't come with, but you know, but we've got an urn for her, you know, so like she's in our living room with us and stuff, and it's just like it's a way to like kids have an understanding, you know, and it's like because like parents like sometimes shelter the kids from anything like that, but it's like it's kind of a like I grew up in a farm, like animals died. It's like you know, it's during the winter. Animals died sometimes. It is something it kind of came to terms with, but also it helps you be a stronger person and understand that like things will come and go. Things will not always be comfortable. And you know, and as like I said, as a parent, like you know, they didn't go to the vet with me. You know, I sheltered them from that, but at the same time too, they understand that like you know, Delilah was passing. You know that this is their time to say goodbye to her. You know, and and I think that a lot of ways that humans not being able to like being sheltered from that they don't make that connection. Like kind of going back to what we said about like Charlie Kirk and what some leftists are saying. Like it's almost like he's in the penalty box,
Yeah.
and they don't understand that the finality of an action, like pulling the trigger at someone. Because I made the mistake. I was talking to somebody. It's like, oh no, this has to be somebody who's trained, because like I've been through combat, like the adrenaline of having to pull the trigger. And it's like, no, it's a left-wing psychopath that I didn't see him as a person.
Right.
It's just it was a non-human to them. And like I'm just like, and that's kind of ultimately I come back to. It's just like, man, this is not correct thinking. Sorry. We're kind of wrapping up here on a heavy topic. I'm sorry.
No, we're circling back to square one. I think that it's kind of like a perfect segue into where we started and to wrap it up. But we all kind of knew this on the right, I guess, in internet culture, that like this is just kind of how the left is, and the difference between the left and the right. But the fact that it's coming back up with this whole Charlie Kirk thing, it's like a lot of people have united back into the left and the right, whereas before it was a little more atomized. And now you really have to consider how scary it is that like all of these people are walking around amongst us at all times. I went to the store last night or the night before, and I walked in, and the cashier, who I've seen her there before, and we've made like small talk before, and she was speaking with like a butch lesbian with a septum piercing and like a butch haircut. And they were just obviously talking about Charlie Kirk, and the lesbian woman was talking about how dare people compare him to Martin Luther King Jr. And I was like sitting there like I want to crash out on you both, and I'm just going to try to go, I'm going to try to take the high road. So like the cashier called me up, and it was like almost like she was inviting me into the conversation. She was like, no, it's okay. Come on up. And like I went to pay for my stuff, and she's like, we're talking about Charlie Kirk. And I was like, yeah, I know. And she was like, he didn't ever spread hope and love. And I go, I don't want to hear about any of that. And she was like, yeah, I know, right? Don't you agree? And I was like, no, I mean, like, he was a 31-year-old man who left behind 2 small children. And I really don't want to hear about whatever problems you thought you had with his ideology. And it's like, it's just like the weather to these people. It's the new like celebrity gossip. This young man, younger than me, with children who did nothing to anybody, who are now going to have to grow up without a father. And
I mean, that's one thing too. Like we kind of about the Nietzsche thing, but to begin to wrap it up, it's almost like you have people who are walking around like they're not necessarily immoral. They're more just like they're amoral.
Yeah,
they don't have that sense of they don't have like a compass pointing towards morality. It's whatever they are currently infatuated with. And
right.
I think that's a problem that some people have, is that they're viewing like they view these people as immoral. It's like, no, the problem is they're amoral, that there's a complete lack of morality. And it's not what they're doing is immoral, but it's not, they don't have anything to compare it to as being immoral. So they just don't have, a compass. And I think this, trying to like find a way to like course correct on that, I think it's like the biggest problem I think our culture could be facing right now, is that we have people who are just like the me, gimme kind of thing, and like just kind of filling that immediate desire and those immediate needs, with no concern for anything else around you. And I think that's really sad. But as we wrap up here, do you want to plug where to find you?
Yeah, you can come find me. Pretty much all of my activity is on Zitter, on X, formerly Twitter. If I ever do anything, if I'm ever streaming or any new projects are coming out, you'll find out about it on my Twitter. So come follow me there at Punished FTV. That's Punished Faith TV if you search for me. I'm on Rumble as well. I'm also Based Faith TV there. But yeah, I pretty much just stick around there. Sometimes I'd love to do like another collab. Maybe you can come on my show at some point.
Yeah.
We can have a discussion. But I thought it was a fun time. It was a good conversation. I appreciate you having me.
I'll put the links down in the description as well. And thanks for joining me tonight. It's a good conversation. I'm glad I had a chance to sit down and talk to you, because like sometimes you come across people like, this person's really cool, and like you follow them more, turn on notifications so you see their stuff, and it's like, okay, man, this is someone I want to interact with. Like, we're very parallel, but there's things that we diverge on, but at the same time too, it's just like, I mean, it's like the iron sharpening iron things. Like,
For sure.
we have differences, but we have a lot more strengths in common. So with that, I'll say good night. I'll catch you tomorrow on Twitter.
All righty.
Everyone check out the socials down below.
Thank you. You have a good night, bud.